Hey, it's Mike Hambright with Flipper.com. Welcome back for another exciting VIP interview where I interview successful real estate investing experts and entrepreneurs in our industry to help you learn and grow. Today, I'm joined by my new friend, Justin Williams. He's a high-volume real estate investor and coach, and he does a lot of things. But Justin has built a high-volume, successful business by focusing on building systems that allow him to have a company that doesn't need his full-time attention. It's something we all aspire to have. And Justin is also a fellow podcaster through his House Flipping HQ podcast, which I don't know if I need to say this out loud, but right after we're on here, he's going to interview me. So we're going to turn the tables a little bit. Yep. But you want to check out his podcast as well. Now, given that we all want to use real estate investing as a vehicle for both financial freedom and freedom in how we spend our time, today Justin is going to share his knowledge on the importance of systems so you can create truly a business and not a hobby that runs while you're away or sleeping and doesn't need your hands-on attention every single day. Before we get started with Justin, though, let's take a moment to recognize our featured sponsors. RealtyMogul.com is an online marketplace for real estate investing, connecting borrowers and capital from accredited and institutional investors. Get a rehab loan fast and close in as little as 10 days. Rates start as low as 9%. We'd also like to thank National Real Estate Insurance Group, the nation's leading provider of insurance to the residential real estate investor market. From individual properties to large-scale investors, National Real Estate Insurance Group is ready to serve you. Please note, the views and opinions expressed by the individuals in this program do not necessarily reflect those of FlipNerd.com or any of its partners, advertisers, or affiliates. Please consult professionals before making any investment or tax decisions, as real estate investing can be risky. Hey, Justin, welcome to the show.
What's going on, Mike? How's it going?
Good, good. It's funny, I'll tell a funny little story for folks that are listening in is you just joined a mastermind that I've been a part of for a little while now, a bunch of really good guys in there. But it's funny, you were scheduled to be on the show today, but was it Wednesday? We happened to be in a elevator together, and you looked at me and said, "Oh, are you a real estate investor?" Because I was talking to somebody else. And I was like, "Yeah," we introduced ourselves, and we're like, "Hey, wait a minute, that's Justin. Hey, that's Mike." So it's funny.
Hey, we're going to be talking in a couple days.
Yeah, yeah.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah, awesome. Well, hey, I think a lot of people that know you are super impressed with what you've created. And, there's so many real estate investors that, especially those that are kind of like, I refer to myself as a corporate refugee. I left the corporate world. I want to take control of my financial freedom. A lot of people are in this situation. And then they get out and they end up creating another job for themselves. So they're just a slave. Now they work for themselves. They're self-employed, but the employed part is in all caps, right? They never get away from being a slave to something else. And
you can be your own worst boss. You can be worse than the worst boss you've ever had if you're not careful.
Yeah. My boss never lets me get away. So, but no, you've created some great things, and I know you teach a lot of other people about it. But why don't you tell us your background before we get into that? Tell us kind of how you got into real estate investing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been doing this full-time for about 8 years. Before that, I had a satellite dish business, had $120,000 debt in that business. I was able to finally pay that off. Anyway, bottom line, it was a lot of work, a lot of nightmares. Learned a lot of things. But I tell people that just so they don't think I was born from the womb, like with a golden spoon in my mouth or anything like that, right? Like I've been through the ringer. So 8 years ago, I went to my first real estate investing seminar. The guy offers a program for $15,000. Of course, I'm the first one in line to sign up. At the time, I never even fathomed that someone would, for only $15,000, teach me everything they knew about real estate, right? So I was all over it, and I had the chance to win a new car. So I'm all in. I'm like, this guy's going to teach me to be a millionaire and win a new car. Of course,
too good to be true, huh?
Too good to be true. So got aboard that. It was good. It didn't take long to realize that this guy was pretty much an information marketer and hadn't really even done the business in 6 years. I still learned a lot, though, because I surrounded myself with a certain amount of people and kind of took me to that next level. But I actually ended up winning the car, but this is where it gets really bad. He never sent it to me. So
wow.
The rest of it, I was like, dude, he hasn't even done real estate for 6 years. I kind of felt disappointed, but I was like, whatever, I'm still doing the business,
so
making money.
Did everybody actually win the car?
No, I was the only one. It was like a big deal. Like
Yeah.
a year later, we showed up. We presented our business plan, what we had done the whole year, basically helping him sell more coaching programs. And everyone's cheering. I mean, there was 3 finalists. I spoke for about 3 hours.
Wow.
I gave 2 presentations. It was just right here in LA, actually. The first one was in Atlanta. The last one was here in LA. And anyway, people were cheering for me. I have a big trophy, and I have a picture of him standing by the car. It's a Chrysler 300, and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna send it to you." I didn't know who was gonna win, so I had to like wait to find out who was gonna win.
Right.
To know where to send it, and 1 week turned into 2. And anyway, I don't mean to go off on a tangent on that story too much, but it's kind of a funny story.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I got started. You know, it took me 7 months actually to close my first deal. And I like to tell people that this isn't a, get rich quick, get rich overnight. And that was with hard work. But I was doing short sales too. So keep that in mind. Short sales take quite a while. Then after that, I, took a couple months to close another one. And then I started closing deals on almost a monthly basis. And that's kind of how I got my start.
Yeah. So. Yeah. What's interesting is there's a ton of gurus out there. There's some good ones, there's some good guys that really know a lot. I've had several on my show that most people would consider a guru. And after I got to know them, I'm like, this is a really, there's some people that say some bad things, but this is a really good guy. But there's also some of the other way out there, some people that don't do what they say and mislead people. What's interesting about you though is that, say that again?
It's like real estate investing. Yeah. I mean, there's some dishonest real estate investors, but it doesn't mean there aren't good ethical real estate investors.
That's absolutely right.
And to say that all gurus or educators are bad, it's just ignorant.
Yeah,
really,
no doubt about it. But what's interesting about you and is that what really helps you, even if you go buy all that information, the reason a lot of people fail is they don't have the motivation to kind of take control of their own lives, take the bull by the horns, and say, "Oh, I didn't get everything out of this, but I'm going to go make it happen anyway."
Absolutely.
And so, congrats on that. That's fantastic.
Yeah. You got to have that, what I call it, relentless passion. I mean, nothing can get in your way, and I can usually tell within 5 minutes of talking to someone if they have that or not.
Right. Right.
I guess it can be learned. It can. I've seen people transform and change, but you've got to be able to find that.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to go to that place to get that.
Yeah. And you got to have the fortitude to just keep going because, like you said, this is a tough business. I mean, people know me as doing a lot of volume as well, but there's months that go by where we buy 7 houses one month and 0 houses the next month, and it's not all milk and honey. It's like there's it's a roller coaster business, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think I was telling you last week we had our record week. We got 12 houses in 1 week.
Yeah.
And a big part of that was the mastermind group that I went to. But, earlier this year and the end of last year were pretty slow.
Yeah.
And I was really having a hard time.
Yeah.
If I go 1 week without buying a house, life is over.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah. But you got to keep pushing forward because that's how this business is. It's an emotional and financial roller coaster.
It is absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, talk about, how you came to be. I mean, you're known as, a guy that puts in place a lot of systems that's really created something, that a lot of people admire. But where did that come from? I mean, how did you decide that I need to put these things in place? Because let me say one other thing is a lot of people often, they know they need to do that, but they get so caught up in the day-to-day that they just never get to it.
Yeah, a lot of people have a hard time letting go, and I'm actually quite the opposite. From a young age, I was figuring out how to get my little sisters to do my jobs for me. I would spend more time getting them to do my jobs than it would have taken me to do my jobs. Like
right.
Creating these games with tickets and all this. It's just fun. It's a game to me. Like, it's fun. I enjoy it. I enjoy getting people to do stuff for me, right? So that's kind of always been part of my mindset. But my big shift where things really started to happen, I was doing on average a deal a month or so. So my first 3.5 years, I had done about 40 deals. And in 2010, at the end of 2010, beginning of 2010, some things really changed in my business. And I started to, before I was doing wholesaling with short sales, and then I started to get into rehab, fix and flips in 2010. But it was tough. I mean, at that time, I didn't know how to comp properties. I didn't have the MLS. I didn't know how to really estimate repairs that well.
Yeah.
I was like, this business is tough. So at the end of 2010, I was like, okay, I'm going to get into rentals. I'm going to do the whole get out of the rat race, become financially free. And within a 4-month period, I bought 12 properties that were meant as rentals. So I was cranking. I was like, yeah, sweet. And then I went to go buy number 13. And I was out of money. My private money investors were out of money. And sure, could I have taken the time to really go out and raise some more funds and kept this thing going? And yeah, but I didn't know how I was going to pay the rent the next month. I mean, it was bad. Like, we didn't have any money for anything. And I decided I had no choice but to sell the last 4 houses that I had as rentals. And something amazing happened from that is, out of those 4 properties, I was able to take care of my family's needs for over a year, for at least a year. And that was the first time that I was ever, because I had all the debt and all this other crazy stuff, and I won't even get into the other things that have happened, with fraud that was done in my other business. But that was the first time that I was like, wow, for an entire year, like, I'm financially free for at least for a year.
Yeah. And
so it kind of, I'm still in, I'm okay. I like rentals. I got 10 rentals, but it just kind of, I started thinking about, wow, I've read books like The 4 Hour Work Week and The E-Myth, and I thought, why can't I do this every month? Why, you got to ask that question, like, why not? Successful people say, this can be done. How do I need to do it? Right. So I just started putting together those systems and replacing myself, and broke down every single part of the business and thought, how can this be automated and systematized? And I did it. And that year, we did 60 houses, which was more than we had done the previous years combined. And, turning that capital was a pretty amazing thing to me, and learning how to understand returns and velocity of capital and annualized return. It was really cool. It got a lot of fun. And the next year we did 120, and then we've kind of averaged 100 per year. And my goal is I'd like to do 150 to 200 this year. I hope we can get there.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So talk about, because for somebody that I appreciate everything that you've built, and we've been very focused on building systems and things in our business for a long time too. For me personally, I just share some personal experience with you. It seems like it always comes down to, things fall through the cracks, things happen, and I've always been the guy who has to pick up the mess or go clean it up next. And so I've kind of struggled with having that buffer between putting processes in place that work, most of the time without me, that just happens. It works fine. But whenever there's a problem, I've too often been the person in the middle that has to solve that problem now.
Yeah, for sure. So it comes down to 2 things: systems and people, because even systems will break.
Yeah.
I create my machine, but even the machine needs maintenance.
Right.
A year or 2 ago, one of my someone I really look up to, Mike Cantu, who's in my local market, he came and heard me speak at a local RIA, and he's like, Justin, what you're really good at is you're good at hiring problem solvers. I need more problem solvers on my team.
Yeah.
Because he heard, my assistant was there, and he just realized, wow, like, she helps him with a lot of these problems that come up. So problems do happen. It's not like I have this perfect machine that operates completely smoothly and issues never happen. No, I mean, we buy problems, right? We want problems.
Right.
That's what we ask for. So I do try to create the systems, but then I do hire and empower people who can help me with that system. For example, I don't go look at houses. I don't talk to contractors. I don't talk to agents. My assistant, or I guess more my COO, my operating officer, she does all those things. And then she just contacts me when she has something like bigger, right? When it gets escalated or something like that, which doesn't happen too often.
Yeah.
So
how about stuff like the financial stuff, like approving deals, sending money around, managing money, managing cash? I mean, have you outsourced that as well? Those are some things historically, personally, we've been afraid to let go of.
Yeah, she manages just about all of that. She works with all my private money lenders. She works with my hard money lenders. Every once in a while, like last week when we put 12 houses under contract, I didn't talk to her, but hey, are we good here? But she just has it all taken care of. So I wrote this article a long time ago called 5 Tips to Creating a 5-Hour House Flipping Work Week.
Yeah.
You want to go through that real quick?
Yeah, awesome.
I've actually added a couple more. It was kind of interesting. Last week at the mastermind meeting, I intentionally didn't talk about too many of these details with the group, because these are all guys that are doing like 100, 200, 300 deals a year and, making 7 figures. And I was like, they probably don't care about this stuff. But it was funny because that's all everybody was asking me about afterwards.
Right.
Was how are you doing these houses like out of state and that you don't go see, and how do you manage it all? So I kind of put together this list of 7 things. So first off, most of the properties that I am currently doing are, I call it turnkey, but I guess turnkey means a lot of things. So for me, turnkey means we're not working with the city. They're not super duper high end or custom. They're houses that all use the same color paint, the same carpet, the same. It's like Ford, with their cars. It's like you can put it through an assembly line, right? I'm not looking to get cute and fancy. I don't really get emotionally attached to real estate or how pretty can I make this look? No, it's like a system.
Right.
How boring can I make this? Right. Like I'm not the creative guy, anything like that. So that's the first caveat, right? All these houses I'm buying are kind of fall into that box. I'm not just talking paint and carpet, and we'll gut the entire thing. We'll do everything.
Right.
We just don't want to do anything like customized. It's
right.
We want it to all be the same.
Absolutely.
So that's number one. Number two is I let other people do all the legwork on acquisitions. Just prospecting for houses, literally, and if you want to do high volume, you're going to need, 100, 150 or more man hours a week to really buy a high volume of properties, maybe 200, right?
Right.
But I don't know about you, but how many working hours, do you have in a week, right? So if I'm the one doing all of that, I'm not going to get very far, especially if I'm trying to do everything else in my business.
Yep.
So I let everyone else do the legwork on acquisitions. They all know my criteria. They know what I'm looking for. And I would say they don't even bring a deal to me until it's like baked and ready to go. But it's to the point where they don't even bring a deal to my assistant until it's baked and ready to go. And she's very capable of approving those. But I'd much rather work with very few people than a lot of people. I used to work with all these wholesalers and they send me all this crap and it was like a waste of time. So if someone sends me a crappy deal, I never talk to them again, basically.
Yeah.
I just unsubscribe, don't work with them anymore. And I work with the same main wholesalers, the same main agents. And then I have 2 full-time in-house buyers. They know what I'm looking for. So it just kind of makes things a lot easier to not have to every single time someone sends you a deal, have to know I like to make money on these houses. It's and you can trust them and you've got your systems down. So let others do the legwork. We have a rehab materials list, which basically we already talked about that. Like every house is basically, here's the color paint, here's the tile we use, here's the laminate wood flooring we use. And all the SKU numbers for everything we use at Home Depot, for all the fixtures, everything. So then our contractors know this is what we use. I'm cool with the contractor giving suggestions to change something up, and we are always, changing 1 or 2 things up here or there. But it's all about systems. Like last thing I need is a contract going to Home Depot with a contractor and trying to pick things out. What a waste of time, right? And nobody got time for that. So
yeah.
I do also, this isn't one of the tips I have down here, but I only work with general contractors, and the general contractors can typically do 2, 3, 4, 5 projects at a time. No way I'm going to be working with subcontractors. One point of contact. The less people I can work with, the better.
Right.
Rehab price list is something that I've never really seen anyone else do, but a long time ago, after doing starting to do the higher volume, I realized, there's a lot of groveling, a lot of negotiating, going back and forth. Sometimes we're getting multiple bids, we're getting price creep, contractors raising their prices. But at the end of the day, we're paying about the same for everything.
Yeah.
So how can we get rid of all this nonsense up front? So I came up with a price list, and I realized, okay, we're paying about, X for price per square foot for paint. So if a house is 1,500 square feet, back in the day, we were paying like $1 per square foot. It's a little bit higher now. But to make numbers easy, that would have been $1,500 for that house. I said, okay, we're paying you $1 per square foot. If the house is $1,600, I'm paying you $1,600. If it's $1,200, I'm paying you $1,200. And we've done the same thing for everything.
Yep.
So that's the price list. And it helps us weed through contractors as well, because we can call them up and say, hey, what do you charge for paint? What do you charge for this? Actually, my assistant can do that and very easily see what we're charging. There's no price creep. We don't get multiple bids. They can get going before they even send us their bid, and we know where their bid's going to be. It's really made our life much easier. My assistant can easily go through and approve all the payments and then get them paid and everything.
Right.
So that's for that. I got this says put those agents to work. So we really use our agents. Our agents help us do cash for keys. Our agents are kind of like our project manager. First off, when I hire the general contractor, I have a very frank, or my assistant has a very frank conversation with them saying, this is your job. You need to do your job. If you want to work with us, we'll keep you as busy as you can. But you're a general contractor for a reason. We actually expect you to do the job from beginning to end. We expect you to finish on time. We expect you to clean up your mess. And if that doesn't happen, we stay on top of them. But we do, as a checks and balances, have our agent go, and they'll do a final walkthrough on the property. I mean, they're the ones who's going to list the property. They're the ones who's going to take the pictures anyway. They want it to sell. They do the final walkthrough with that contractor. And then if there is, after the inspection's done, if there's things that need to be done, they'll contact the contractor, get those items done. And just cutting us out of it as much as we can.
Yeah.
When we were at the mastermind meeting, someone asked, they're like, well, how do you deal with, like one time recently I went to this house and I went in the garage and there was all this stuff, this thing that wasn't done. And I was like, I never would have known. He's like, you're right. Like at the end of the day, like that would have got taken care of. Like either I held my contractor to a higher standard. If they know you're going to be there, like checking on them, like they're not going to perform as well.
Right.
If they know it's up to them and then the agent knows like it's up to them, they're going to get those things done. And at the end of the day, if one thing falls through the cracks and is in the inspection, like I don't care. To me, all the houses are spreadsheets. That's all they are.
Yeah.
It's a spreadsheet with what we paid for it, what we put into it, what we're making. What's our return going to be?
Right.
I'm to the point where I'll go through with my assistant through like, okay, out of the 50 houses, what do I need to be aware of? Like, so I can just know that we're doing well. At the end of the day, I'm like, are we making money? That's what I ask her every time.
Yep.
We still making money? Okay, good. So, put those agents to work. Avoid the paperwork pileup. A long time ago, I got to the point where I'd be working on something, then I get something I need to sign, fax in, and print off, sign. It's just like this big mess.
Right.
You have to go to get it notarized, all this crazy stuff. So I worked with an attorney and authorized, a couple key personnel on my team to be able to sign on behalf of the company. So they now sign for me. They are able to get things notarized for me. And that I don't really do any paperwork anymore. Very rarely. Every once in a while I have to do something, but avoid the paperwork pileup. Number 7 is kind of obvious, but hire and outsource all the busy work. I mean, there's no way you're going to catch me calling the utility company or, taking care of the paperwork or getting insurance or just doing all this stuff that just takes forever. So, letters and all that. You got to get rid of all that.
And do you is everybody kind of in-house or do you use virtual assistants or?
Yeah, everyone's pretty much in-house. I mean, after going to the meeting, I've learning more and more about virtual assistants. I had a couple of virtual assistants for my online business, which I'm not currently using. But there's, when you say in-house though, everyone is kind of virtual.
Yeah.
But
right.
We're all here in Southern California.
Okay.
Actually, I just hired someone in Texas, so right where you are.
Yeah.
So no one is. I don't have people like in the Philippines right now or anything like that. I assume that's what you're talking about.
Yep. So talk about those key. It sounds like your assistant is obviously a very key player.
Very key
in all this.
She runs the systems basically.
Okay. So talk about what that one of the other challenges that I've had historically is even when you find a really good person, as a small business, you usually can't afford to have redundancy. So if something happens to that person, those key people, then things fall back, may fall back on me as the owner, probably will. So talk about how you kind of manage some of that, and maybe talk a little bit about your assistant, not specifics, but just because it sounds like this person is much more than an assistant, like a secretarial type person.
Yeah. So she started out that way though. I was just paying her like $10, $11 an hour. She's been with me for like 4 years now. And I just looked for someone who used to be an agent because I didn't want to train someone from total ground zero, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, I wanted personal skills and ambition, all those things. But I thought, hey, why not find someone who knows how to use the MLS, who knows how to fill out contracts, all that stuff. So that was back when we were buying houses on the MLS. And I told her, I said, hey, I'm going to have you do things like utilities. Like I gave her all the busy work at first. But then you always want to make sure that you have something for them to do, because you can't create another job for yourself by hiring someone, right? And that happens, right? So I said, these are the things I want you to do. This is what I want you to do when you don't have anything to do, which was just make offers on houses. So I taught her my criteria, taught her what I was looking for, and just had her making offers. And then she'd be doing the utilities and the paperwork. And then over time, she just kind of grew into it. She was working for me part-time at first. the first week was training, so it was 10 hours. Then it built into 15, then 20, and she did 20 hours for me for like 6 months, and went to 30 hours for another 6 months, and then we went full time after that. So it was this process, and I share that with people so they don't feel like they have to hire this like full time megastar like right out of the gate.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, now she's to the point where she gets a small percentage of what I make, plus a guaranteed salary. It's a big win-win, and she does whatever she has to do. Like she's not an 9 to 5 at all. I mean, she just does whatever she needs. She's amazing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, awesome. So for folks that are kind of out there that hear all, because what you said, like you said, a lot of people hear this and they assume, well, it just got created overnight. I mean, It took you time, iterations to get there. Where do you recommend people kind of get started with outsourcing or systematizing things? Like, do they kind of prioritize like what's your biggest pain point and kind of go after that first?
Yeah, you want to start with the things that take the most time and are the easiest for someone else to do.
Okay.
So if you're, for example, doing like letters and you're writing the addresses on the envelopes, like you should not be doing that. Please stop.
Yeah.
Like that's not a good use of your time.
Right.
And then utilities, stuff like that. Like you really don't want to be doing that. But everyone's business is different. Sometimes you just got to write down like what you do and the things that you do often that are duplicatable. Like you got to teach someone else to do that. And it will take you longer up front to teach them than it will for you just to do it yourself. But once again, look at it as a game. Depending on the action, of course, if someone's just doing letters, you can have that going pretty quickly. It takes like a day or so. But to have like a really good assistant, in my opinion, takes about 3 months of you investing in them. It's an investment, time and energy, and it kind of takes more of your time than they actually give you in those first 3 months. So you got to keep that in mind.
Right.
Once again, it's like creating a machine. If you can create a machine that can work for you, then it's worth it. But you've got to put time and an investment into that machine that can then give back to you for an infinite
Absolutely.
period of time.
Do you do much in terms of training systems, like recording videos, doing stuff so that whenever you have to replace somebody or if you bring somebody new on, that somebody can effectively watch training videos, or do you find that you have to recreate that each time?
What I do now is, I have my education program. So when I hire somebody new, especially for acquisitions, I just have them watch all of that to get trained, and that's been pretty huge. But let it happen organically as well, right? Like I'm a big fan of the E-Myth, and when I had my satellite dish business, I read the E-Myth, and which is cool. I'm glad I did because it taught me a lot. But at the same time, I kind of dropped everything I was doing, got so focused on creating this operations manual and that I was like going into debt while I was doing it. You know what I mean? It's like at the end of the day, in the house business, all that really matters is that you're able to market for, prospect, put deals under contract. If you can do that, like everything else falls into place,
Right.
really.
Right.
So you got to, and my satellite business was like all about just getting sales, right? So you want to create systems, but you want to kind of let it, to me, it's like one Band-Aid at a time.
Yeah.
For a small business owner, right? It's one thing if I'm going to go out and create a fund and have like millions of dollars and have this huge business
Right.
plan and partner, but that's not what anybody I think that's listening here is
Right,
doing.
right. Yeah.
So
Awesome. So any kind of words of wisdom on, how people can kind of get started with transitioning from either getting started in real estate investing, which, you did not that long ago, and or from taking it to kind of that hobby phase where you're doing a few deals here and there, but aspire to take it to the next level, to kind of doing that with systems and some operating structure.
yeah, well, for getting started, you've got to. I'm a big fan of failing fast. You've got to take action. You've got to take action where it counts. So if you've been educating yourself for a while and you kind of know what you're doing, you got to start with the beginning, which to me is trying to get a house under contract, right? Don't worry about having the financing lined up. Don't worry about having all the rehab systems taken care of. Just get a house under contract. And if you're able to do that, then you can make money from that. Because you can sell to someone like myself, or the money will show up if the house, and don't get me wrong, you still got to work for it, right? It's not just going to magically show up. But I used to talk to investors all the time when I didn't have any houses, and they're like, they didn't take me seriously. But once you have a house that you can send them, then they're going to take you a lot more seriously. So
Right.
focus on getting the deals if you're new. If you've been doing this a while and you're ready to kind of take your business to the next level, I mean, you've just got to be open with knowing that there are people out there that can do it just as good or better than you. In fact, once they get trained, they will do their little small part much better than you will.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you. Yeah, I can't hold, 10 balls juggling in the air at the same time. They will drop.
Right.
Right? So don't be so arrogant, like you've got to know that other people can do it. And it comes down to, what are you trying to create? Are you really trying to create another job for yourself or a true business?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
You've just got to do it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Justin, if folks want to learn more about you and some of the stuff you've got going on, obviously you've got your podcast. Tell us some ways that they get a hold of you or get in touch with you or
they
learn
can
more.
go to houseflippinghq.com and podcast and everything's on there on iTunes. Or they can go to House Flipping Formula, and I have a free video course that they can learn more about. It's a house flipping fundamental course to get them started. Of course, you're not going to learn absolutely everything there is in house flipping in 4 videos, but I try to give them a good bird's eye view, a good overview, so they know what's involved and they know where to go from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, if they have any questions, they can always reach out to us by email to info@houseflippinghq.com.
Awesome. We'll add all these links down below the video as well here. So, hey, my friend, thanks for your time today. Good to see you.
Awesome. You too, Mike.
Yep.
Really appreciate it.
All right. Talk to you soon. Are you a member of FlipNerd.com, the most robust real estate investing platform in existence, where you can find off-market wholesale deals and great vendors literally in your market? You can get access to advice from experts and learn about local clubs and events right in your backyard. If not, please visit FlipNerd.com and register for a free account. You can register in less than a minute. It's pretty much the coolest site that's ever existed in the real estate investing industry, so get on over to FlipNerd.com.